I bet you're wondering what a bouncy ball has to do with depressed psychologists. Are you?
Absolutely.
I'm glad you're asking that question. Because keeping you in suspense until the end will probably enhance your enjoyment. So I'll do that. So, to begin with, I'm going to look at my note. Yes. Like a tune in my head over the past few months, there's been this question. Are depressed psychologists hypocritical? And I decided, well, yes, before I decided, a few weeks ago I saw in the Psychologist magazine there was an article called Practicing What We Preach, and it was about this high suicide rate amongst psychologists. And so I decided that I would resolve this question once and for all for myself, so that it wouldn't be humming a tune in my head all the time. To do that, I decided that I would, what better than giving a speech about it? That would make me have to go away, think about it, and come up with the resolution to, really, would you go to a psychologist who's depressed? Well, the question is, would you take advice on dieting from an obese person? Would you take financial advice from a broke person? Would you take singing advice from someone who sings out of tune? On the other hand, does a doctor need to be fit and healthy in order to be able to diagnose and treat ill people? Or does one have to be a top-class tennis player, world-class tennis player, in order to be a tennis coach for that top-class tennis player? Because all world-class tennis players have coaches. But the coaches are obviously not world-class, otherwise they'd be having coaches they're playing themselves. So, in which category do depressed psychologists fall? The first group, the broke financial advisors, or the second group, the ill doctor who can still diagnose and treat his patients. That is the first one. Now, to get there, I want to go back to 2005. About 2 years earlier, I decided to study psychology after having abandoned pharmacology. And I had never experienced depression in my life. Some people call me crazy. And so in 2005, I was feeling quite depressed. And my wife said to me, how do you expect to be treating people with mental disorders, if that's what you call depression, if you're depressed yourself? And that was easy for me to resolve at the time. I was taking a walk with my friend and I said to him, look, if I know what depression feels like, it will enhance my treatment. It will allow me to empathize with my patient. How can I know what that person is going through if I haven't experienced it myself? So that was okay. But there's one thing being a psychology student who's feeling depressed, and there's another thing being a psychologist practicing psychology and being depressed at the same time. So, roll forward about 6 years. 6 years later, I was in Iran, and we had a regular meeting about once a week. We met, there was a group of us, And we were talking about self-awareness, and we took a lot of our inspiration from the mystics. Now, the mystics, I call them medieval psychologists, because they were really trying to work out how to live a fuller and more content life. So what did they do? We talked about self-awareness, non-self-aware people, what are the differences? And somebody did ask the question, if somebody is down, or sorry, are self-aware people, are mystics, who have reached a high level, not allowed to, or do they never get down? And I thought I had an answer to this. So I said, well, I suppose getting depressed or getting down is something like going under the influence of gravity. It pulls you down. And if you are not self-aware, it pulls you down, and the metaphor I used was a cow hat. It falls, it splats, and it sticks, and it dries. Now, I don't have a cow hat here today, but I will demonstrate with a wet sock, which, if it falls, it sticks. Now, on the other hand, the person who is self-aware, still under the influence of gravity, gets pulled down, but comes back up again quickly. So what I expect to see from psychologists is not that they don't get depressed, but that they recover quickly. So I don't go to psychologists if they're chronically depressed, but the acute depression enhances their treatment of their patients.